Welcome back to the Synergistic CX Podcast. This is part 3 of our 3-part episode where we're focusing on the fashion store industry. In the previous 2 parts of this episode, we explored the key elements shaping customer experience for fashion stores and also analyzed the customer journey map, its marketing mix, the marketing mix funnel matrix, and how to build an optimized voice of the customer survey. Now, in our final segment, we'll broaden the conversation with Abdel Wahab Chaoui, Associate Director at C&O Marketing, as he shares his expert insights on the evolving landscape of customer experience, mystery shopping, and market research. Christiani, my colleague here at the CX channel, will lead our interview. Chris, all yours.
Thank you, Eric. So it's my pleasure to welcome again Abdel Chaoui here at the CX channel podcast. And Abdel, for those of you who is watching only this part of the episode, is the Associate Director at CCO Marketing in Morocco. And he's a dear friend of mine for many years and has been in the mystery shopping and market research business for 30 years with offices in Casablanca and Dubai. He's a board member of the MSPA Europe Africa for 14 years, Abdel, I think, and a founding member of the African Market Research Association. Abdel has also served as ESOMAR representative in Morocco for many years. It's a commitment that reflects a long-standing belief that good research is built as much with professional communities and with individual firms as well. Outside of the office, he has spent several years as a columnist with a very well-known newspaper in Morocco, a discipline that still shapes the way he frames a question and delivers his findings. Welcome again to the CX channel, Abdel.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for covering all the facts. 30 years, gender marketing, Casablanca, Dubai, MSPA, ESOMAR. Let me share what drives me really in this profession. After 30 years of field research, I have come to one conviction. The most valuable thing a research firm can deliver to is not data. Data is everywhere today. So the most important thing is to make data to talk to other data and to turn this conversation into decision. This is why I constantly say to my clients and to my team, beyond simple reports, we are in the business of facilitating decisions. This is why C&O Marketing has always combined methodologies, mystery shopping, market research, CX, and all kind of research, desk research also, price monitoring. Each piece of the puzzle contributing to the global and in-depth picture.
Oh, that is really interesting, and it fits very well with the beliefs that we have here at the CX channel. So to start this interview, I always like to ask our guests one of my favorite questions, which is, what does customer experience excellence mean to you?
CX excellence is when you stop seeing customers and you start seeing friends, because you do not sell your solution to your friend. You find theirs, and this thing brings me to the most powerful insight from your fashion study. Let's come back to figures from Emile. Sales team enthusiasm counts for 17% and tailored client consultation for 11%. So to summarize, together, the human interaction between customer and staff counts for 28% of importance. So by far the strongest single driver in the marketing mix. Brands try to build loyalty with their customers, but a brand is not a person, in fact. So your salesperson must embody the brand and treat their customers, as friends. This is the secret of long-term win-win relationship. And why not even, I say it by, imagine a friendliness manager position to embody this philosophy in the store.
Yes, it's true. And we were talking before about this, that you operate across multiple markets and cultures where even simple interactions like greeting customers may require different evaluation criteria depending on the country. So if you could share what you have learned from managing these multi-country mystery shopping projects, for example, and why is local market knowledge so important to correctly interpret customer experience?
You're absolutely right, Chris. Let me share an anecdote that says it all. The way you greet someone in each country is different from one country to another one. So let's give an example. In Morocco, if you say only bonjour, bienvenue, salam, marhaba, like hello, welcome, it could be fine. But in Senegal, people takes much time to greet. A quick hello would be cold and disrespectful. And it's the same for the closing. In Morocco, for example, a cashier who only says thank you will score lower than a cashier who adds bsha. That means enjoy. We said this thing when someone has just bought or worn or consumed something. These are cultural blessings, not commercial phrases. But these small words are not so small. They carry the warmth of an entire culture. And it goes even further. No need to cross to go to another country. Within the same country, the same word lands differently. If you're talking to a young, urban, westernized guy, it's not the same if you send an older, traditional customer. He would feel very cold and rude if he received only a thank you from the cashier. So the solution is simple. We expand the item to include the full range of acceptable greetings. We neutralize the cultural variation and while we keep the binary discipline. So this is why in international programs, the local partner is not optional, it's essential. The grid must travel with the local nuance built in. Otherwise, you measure the wrong thing with a great precision.
Yeah, that's the importance of having this human aspect in service, right? Because there are a certain limit until which extent you can train your employees based on a script and not only the culture aspect of the service. It's true. So Abdel, this month's interview is based on a great, fantastic white paper that you shared that's called Fashion Brands and Malls, A Shared Destiny. That was developed by you and your team for this month edition of Synergistic CX magazine. In this paper, you present the fashion mall interaction model by CNO Market, and it's a research framework that combines CX research and mystery shopping to analyze the interdependence between fashion brand and the shopping mall ecosystem in which they operate. The full paper, which is a great reading for any person that works not only for brands and shopping malls, but any other business as well, will be available in this month's magazine. But today we'll build directly on the methodologies, insights, and operational implications explored in the study. Let's start by what your paper says, that's a very practical business questions. Why do fashion brands with similar positioning perform so differently inside the same mall environment? I mean, what made you realize that traditional retail KPIs alone were not enough to explain these differences?
This question came from the field, not from theory. As you know, we are working with retail for years, and we are working for the shopping malls, the mall operators, conducting from them mall visitors surveys. We are doing also a lot of stuff with fashion brands inside the same malls, and we are seeing some different gaps between the results in each of the research. So we had two very different lenses on the same store, and we kept seeing gaps between data collected in both researches. A brand could score well in mystery shopping and still be poorly perceived by the mall visitor study, or the opposite. So this is what leads us to conclude that a fashion brand, however strong, is never perceived in isolation when it sits inside a mall. So it enters an ecosystem that already exists with a visitor base, with neighboring brands, with circulation flows, and all of these shape the customer's mind before they even step inside the store. So traditional KPIs tell you what is happening inside, sure, but they remain silent on what is happening around. And that silence is exactly where the answer lives. That's why we built this model of fashion mall interaction model.
One of the most interesting concepts in your framework is the idea that the mall is not a neutral host and that brands inherit part of the identity of the shopping center itself. So how did this observation shape the creation of this fashion mall interaction model?
This is the foundation of the whole approach. In fact, when entering a shopping mall, a fashion brand will de facto wear the identity of the mall that houses it. Because a mall is not a neutral host, it's a living entity with its own visitor base, its own tenant mix, its own positioning. And the brand itself, it's also a living entity evolving over time. So what we have, in fact, inside every mall, we have two living entities in permanent interaction. And that interaction is dynamic. The mall's visitor base evolves, neighboring brands open or close, and the overall positioning shifts. And all of this had a direct impact on commercial performance of the brands. So that's why we needed the right tools to study the brand mall interaction over time first, and in order to optimize this coexistence. And this is why we launched the fashion model interaction by CNO.
That's fascinating, Abdel. Now that we have covered the rationale behind this model, let's go deeper into the methodology itself. The methodology combines mall exit surveys, mystery shopping, and what you call the fashion booster. Why was it important to combine subjective customer perception with objective operational measurement instead of relying on a single methodology? And can you explain to our audience what is this fashion booster?
The founding principle of the model is simple. CX research and mystery shopping are two pieces of the same puzzle. Only when you put them together do you see the full picture. So mystery shopping tells you what was not properly executed in the store. And CX research tells you what the customer perceived as poorly executed and how strongly that perception kept them from buying. This is the most important part of the study because one alone gives you control. Mm-hmm. The other alone gives you perception. Together, they give you intelligence. Now, our methodology has three building blocks. The first block is the mall exit survey. It captures the visitor profile, how frequently they come, how they come with, who they come with, how much they spend, what they think about the mall overall. The second brick, the fashion booster, zooms in on their fashion journey during the specific visit. Which stores they visited, which ones they bought from, what they liked, what they didn't. And the third brick is the comparative mystery shopping measures. It measures the objective execution across the client store and its direct competitive set inside the mall, not only the store we studied, but also the competitive set. Each one alone tells a partial story, and we cross the three, and that crossover is where the magic happens. It reveals what no single tool could see. And this is the magic of this methodology. We have three pieces of puzzle, and at the end, we obtain a different story, in-depth story, and a detailed picture of what happens in the mall and in the store.
Yes, I can clearly see not only the very strong research background behind this methodology, but as well a little bit of your journalistic background on this, because it covers all the perspectives from this issue. It's a very strong model, Abdel. And I saw when I was reading the reports that one of the strongest insights in this study is that customer purchase intent is often present at the start of the interview, but execution failures prevent conversion. So how does this approach help brands move from identifying friction points to actually prioritizing corrective actions?
This is the most powerful insight our methodology produces because it matches exactly the title of the issue, the decision breach. The customer's desire is there. It's the execution that falls short. Here's what we see again and again, and our data is consistent across many programs. Only 2 to 3 visitors out of 10 who declared a fashion purchase intent when entering the mall, I say the mall, actually buy from the brand. Sometimes the visitor never reached the brand at all, diverted by the mall journey. Sometimes they did visit, but they didn't buy. So the mall has played its role in the story. We see the interaction now. The question becomes, which gap matters most? This is where the crossover becomes powerful for us. The fashion booster captures the customer's real perception, dimension by dimension, and the mystery shopping captures the level of execution against the brand standards. We measure the real correlation between standards execution and customer perception. We see what truly drives the purchase and what does not. And this is when subjective customer data helps us refine the standards themselves. It's good to know what matters. It's even better to know to what extent. From there, it becomes easier to identify and prioritize corrective actions because we have the full story.
And the study also positions shopping malls themselves as active stakeholders in customer experience and commercial performance. From the same study and from the mall operator perspective, how does this methodology change this relationship between landlords and tenant brands?
The mall operator is not just an observer in this story. The mall operator is a full beneficiary of the approach. Why? Because the same 3 measurements instruments we deliver 3 different things to the operator. The mall exit survey shows visitors' perception of each fashion brand and the contribution of every brand to the mall's overall fashion attractiveness. The fashion booster documents the dynamic between brands, which one pulls visitors in and which one benefits from neighboring traffic and which ones are penalizing or penalized by this environment. And the comparative mystery shopping gives an objective reading of execution quality across the fashion tenant base, enabling a fact-based dialogue between the operator and the brands. Out all of this, we build the key deliverable for the operator, the fashion shopping roadmap. It identifies which brands contribute to the mall's fashion attractiveness, which ones penalize it, and what adjustment would optimize the offer. And here is something important. The methodology is a co-study financed jointly by the fashion brand and the mall operator. They co-found the data and they co-create the insights. And tomorrow, we could even take this further and into an omnibus model where several fashion brands inside the same mall participate together. This changed the relationship completely. We move from coexisting under the same roof to winning together under the same roof.
That is fascinating because this omnibus scheme with this type of study makes a lot of sense because brands can benefit and share the costs with the shopping mall themselves. And it's really powerful. Yeah. And your conclusion suggests that this research architecture can be extrapolated far beyond fashion retail, including industries such as hospitality, banking, and healthcare. What are the key principles that organizations should keep in mind when designing multi-methodology research programs that are intended not only to generate insight, but to drive measurable business action?
After 30 years in retail research, we have learned one thing about data. Data is not the problem. The problem is making data sources talk to each other. A mystery shopping grid without grounding in real customer perception is just a control tool. I said it before. A CX study without cross-referencing against operational execution is just a snapshot. Their combination is what produces intelligence, and intelligence is what makes action possible. So the first principle is simple. Design the conversation between methods, not the methods themselves. The second principle is about time. A one-time study gives you a photograph, a picture. A continuous program gives you a film. And only the film tells you where you are going. And the third principle is about the scope. The model was built for fashion retail, but the same logic applies to any environment where multiple actors jointly shape the customer experience. We can talk about hospitality, banking, healthcare, airports. Where there is an ecosystem, there must be a study of those interactions in that environment and of their evolution over time. So this is the three principle that could be used to expand this methodology to other industries.
Yeah, so combine the methodology, the right timing in terms of the frequency of the studies, and define the right scope in order to implement this correctly.
Exactly.
Okay.
That actually is the name of the podcast itself, is Synergistic CX, and that is the embodiment of the concept. Is exactly what you do, Abdel. It's fantastic. That is excellent detail. Thank you.
Yes. So Abdel, my friends, the last question for you today. You have shared a lot, and I'm sure our audience have learned a lot from you today. And I would like to ask you, what advice would you give to a brand that wants to start a new CX program? Where they should start?
Chris, this question has no universal answer, as each case is different for sure. But there are three principles I always come back to. First, clarify the objectives. A CX program is not a measurement exercise. It's a decision-making system. Before you launch anything, ask yourself, how will the result be used? Who decides? What changes when the data lands? If you cannot answer that, your beautiful charts will sleep peacefully in a drawer. The second principle, know yourself. Before measuring, you need to analyze your internal process to create the right questionnaire. Remember, only the right tool delivers the best results. Also, often short is beautiful, avoiding using a jackhammer to drive in a nail. And finally, try to engage your team in the results. If anyone in your team feels this phrase, is convinced by this, the store wins, I win. You will rock it. So my third principle are this: clarify the objectives, know yourself, and engage your team to get the best results from the CX method.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Abdel. Thank you so much for this interview and for the fantastic case study you shared with the CX channel. Our community can read the full content at this month's magazine. And alongside with that, Abdel was very kind to facilitate an interview with the master franchisor of Kiabi, leading fashion retail in Morocco and all around the world, for the business perspective section of this month's magazine as well. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Abdel, for all your contribution for this month's magazine and podcast.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Emile. Thank you, Eric, and for having me. This has been a truly enriching conversation, and I'm delighted to have shared this moment with you and with the CX channel community.
Yeah, and thank you for your contribution to the industry as well, to Esomar from the African Research Association, or MSP of Kafka as well. You are one of the leaders of this industry, and it's a pleasure to call you a colleague in the mystery shopping and customer experience profession. So back to you, Eric.
Thank you, Chris. Abdel, thank you so very much for being our special guest on this month's episode. Your insights are incredibly valuable to our audience. Before we finish, what's the best way for our listeners to contact you at C&O Marketing?
The simplest way is to find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Abdel Wahab Chaoui, or my email is a-chaoui@c-o-marketing.com, and our website, c-o-marketing.com, is also displayed here. It's supposed to be displayed in the back wall. I look forward to connecting with anyone who wants to continue this conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. As we close, there's a final reflection here on the CX channel. In fashion retail, customer experience is not defined by the purchase alone. It is shaped through inspiration, exploration, fitting, reassurance, payment, and what happens after the sale. Many of these moments are emotional in this industry, but they should not be treated as invisible or impossible to understand. With the right CX research methodology, brands can identify where customer confidence is built, where hesitation appears, and where the experience begins to lose continuity. The organizations that lead in fashion retail are not only those that collect customer feedback. The leaders interpret that feedback with discipline and turn it into better decisions across the journey. This is where research plays a critical role. Objective CX data, such as mystery shopping or audits, helps organizations move from assumptions to understanding and from insight to action. Because in customer experience, insight only creates value when it changes what customers actually undergo. That wraps up another episode of the Synergistic CX Podcast. Visit our website, www.cx-channel.com, to download our magazine for free, which includes this episode's industry study about the fashion store industry. It also includes more content, detailed results, additional commentary, and a special case study from C&O Marketing. Also, in this month's Business Perspective section, you'll find an interview with Kiabi, master franchiser in Morocco. Be sure to subscribe and also follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or the social media of your preference, and stay up to date on our activities. Please give us your questions and comments about what industry you would like to see us explore next. We love your feedback. Thank you for being a part of our podcast, and we'll catch you next time here on the CX channel, where CX professionals converge.